Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Life Stories, and as you would probably expect, we are back with more stories from Reddit/entitledparents. You know them, you love them, well, except you probably don't. But anyway, let's see what they got in store. Our first story is titled, Entitled Parent Doesn't Care About Her Son's Indecent Exposure. So, I'm in college studying a 4-year degree to become an early childhood educator. I'm in my 3rd year, and I love it. Although, being in the early years sector, I have been aware that I will probably come across a lot of entitled parents in my line of work. However, I didn't realize that my first encounter with an entitled parent wouldn't be directly related to the setting I was in. A bit of info. Each year, the second semester of each year includes placement with an early childhood education and care setting. The setting I'm currently in has 5 different classes, each focusing on a different age group of children. I'm in the second youngest class, think 14 to 20 months old. My setting is kind of like a basement. You have to go down a set of stairs outside to go to our front door, though we do have an outdoor space. There are 2 classes facing out the front of the building, mine and the next age group up. Instead of the front walls, we have thick glass, providing natural light and also allowing the children to look out and see who's coming and going. There's about a 2-meter gap between the window and the wall and ground. Where the wall reaches street level, it changes to a glass barrier with a metal rail across the top. It extends for a foot or 2 past the front of the setting, then goes into the bushes. I hope this description is accurate, because it's all important. I know the description sounds like it'd be an easy place to miss, but the bright colors and signs make it difficult to overlook. We're also located next to a Centra shop, a general shop, drinks, snacks, etc. Sorry for that info, but on to the cast. Our cast is me, Magical Enigma, EP, not your typical Karen, more tracksuit and smokes instead of the hair and shades, Kid, not 100% sure if he's entitled, I suspect just a bad mother. Maybe 10 years old. Orla, my room lead, lovely woman. And Robin, next door's room lead and daughter of the owner, who moved here from Scotland. The story. So, it had been a chill day so far, nothing too dramatic. 1 or 2 children out with ear infections or whatnot, but all cool in the room. I was sitting with 1 child on my lap, happily playing with the stacking cups, while Orla was sitting about a meter away from me, tying a child's hair up. We were both sitting by the windows, chatting about generic stuff. I looked around the room to make sure none of the kids were killing each other, when suddenly, "Oi, what are you doing? There are kids here! There's a creche here!" I looked up, startled. She wasn't looking into the room. She wasn't looking at me. She was looking out the window, up at the glass barrier. I followed her gaze and saw a kid right where the barrier meets the bushes. He was staring at us with a deer-in-the-headlights look. Our windows were open, so he heard Orla shouting at him. I couldn't understand why Orla was shouting at him, but then I looked down to his hands and, he was relieving himself into the bushes, while exposing the front of the setting to his, bits. I looked away in shock while Orla kept shouting. Obviously, he had started and couldn't stop midstream. When he was done, he turned and darted into a car parked in the set-down area. Orla and I were shocked that he didn't try to find a more secluded area for his business, or that he was now in a car in the set-down area that was not related to our setting at all. I decided to busy myself and went to bring a chair we had borrowed back to the room next door. I entered, and that room's staff, including Robin, were silent, staring out the window at the car. You saw that too? Oh, the cheek of that kid, in front of a creche? Yeah, I was shocked, and his mom didn't even seem to give a heck. Except heck had the H replaced with another letter you can probably guess. For the sake of the kids, the word was mouthed. "Wait," I said. "His mum?" "Yeah, as soon as the kid dipped into the car, a woman came out of the front and went over towards the Central." "Seriously?" "Yep, I want to have words with her." "Have fun if you do," I said. I then returned to my room to relay the new information I got. About 5 or 6 minutes later, yes, the children were left alone in the car for 5 minutes. There looked to be a younger one in the front seat. EP returned. Her arms were full of crisps, drinks, and a baguette. She moved to step onto the road to get to the driver's door, but paused, turned, and moved closer to the railing, looking through the windows, then heard it. Well, most of it. Robin had obviously gone out the front through their door, leading outside. "What on earth were you thinking?" "What do you mean? What do you think it was a good idea for your kid to piss here?" "Well, he really needed to go, and no one was around. There's a creche, obviously, here, and glass walls. Your kid could have exposed himself to lots of young children, and other teachers." "Oh, it's fine. He's just a kid himself. Besides, you lot change diapers, right? You see that kind of stuff all the time." Haha. "Only when necessary, and only with children we know. That does not give your son permission to urinate on the side of our building." EP says, "Oh, freak off. You're overreacting. It didn't hurt anyone." "Get out of here. If you come back, I'll have it pegged for indecent exposure of a minor." She pointed at one of the many security cameras we have outside. EP shouts, "Bench!" With that, she chucked her purchases into the boot of her car and sped off. I hope that kid isn't anything like his mother or other EKs I read about here. But with a mum like that, God knows. That was kind of an interesting story, but I do have to say, before we move on, to anybody in Scotland or the UK, I sincerely apologize for my Scottish accent. I'm still working on those dialects. And on to our next story. It's titled, "EM curses at hospital staff and harasses me. Gets vomited on." Oh, that sounds nice. Basically, a while ago, I posted a story about an EM I encountered at work. Over there, I mentioned how my periods tend to be horrible. Vomit, nausea, passing out, shivers, etc. I saw comments saying that wasn't normal, but pretty much I've been told all my life to just suck it up and that it was okay. I've been with different gynos, and that was always the answer. But even a friend mentioned it could be endometriosis, and after being paranoid for a while, I made an appointment with a new gyno. She's really nice, and she listed the exams that I would have done today, an ultrasound and a blood exam. The problem is, when I woke up, that little nuisance I call my period decided to make an appearance. Last time I got it was back in December, so it was back with a vengeance. I woke up feeling like trash and nauseous, so I called my gyno and she told me that she would prefer to have the ultrasound and blood work done when I'm off my period, because right now everything would just appear irregular. So I had the intention of canceling the ultrasound, but since I had already asked for the day off, I called my orthopedist and made an appointment. I have a thing called Hagelin syndrome. Long story short, the heel bone in my left foot is slightly bigger than it should be, and it's been bothering me for a while, so I might as well get it checked out. So off to the doctor I went, and he told me that I had to get an x-ray and ultrasound from my left foot and knee. At this point, I was waiting to get the exams done while simultaneously trying not to die. Literally. I was sitting in a corner, shivering and wanting to vomit, but was somehow holding it together. Enter the wild EM. The fun part is that, despite having encountered many EMs in the past, this was the first time I've seen someone full Karen mode. The haircut, gray leggings, and fuzzy white sweater, which with the climate in our country, I was surprised she wasn't sweating in. Our cast is EM, entitled mother, SG, sweet girl, FG, front desk girl, N, nurse, and me. EM just bust through the door with SG. This is a small waiting room. On one side, there's an area where you go to fill out forms on what you're getting done, and then you go to the other side to pay and then sit down. This is translated from Spanish. EM to FG, "You have to open a spot right now. Can't you see my poor baby is dying?" This is a relatively small waiting room, so I turned to the direction of the shouting and watched this unfold. "Ma'am, I already told you. The only available spot isn't until 4 p.m. If someone cancels, I'll inform you right away." It was around 10 a.m. at this point. "How can you treat paying patients this way? Don't you see my poor girl?" Mind you, the poor girl didn't look to be older than 5 or 6 years old, but she didn't look to be in pain. In fact, she was going around the waiting room introducing herself to everyone who would hear her. After some more arguments and profanities, it seemed like EM had finally accepted the schedule and was going to pay. I was sitting in a corner, waiting for my turn, when SG came over to where I was, and after introducing herself, she was asking about me. My name, age, what happened to me, and pretty much in her words told me that she had fallen off a high chair, so her mom brought her to get x-rays. Finally, the nurse calls me, and I said bye to SG. But when I was about to follow N, the EM comes almost running towards me. Can you give us your spot? My poor little girl is dying, and she needs it so bad." To be honest, if the girl looked to be in pain, I'd have let them go first. But the girl simply looked happy to be talking to the other people, and I was feeling like I was gonna pass out, so I just wanted to get this over with. "Sorry, but I'm feeling really sick, and I have to get x-rays plus an ultrasound." The EM then proceeded to grab my shoulders and shook my body while yelling at me, "We need the x-rays! You are fine! My baby isn't!" For a couple of seconds, everything went blurry, and the next thing I knew, I emptied my stomach on EM's legs and feet. A lovely combination of oats and apples. "What the heck did you do? You ruined my clothes! Now you have to pay for them!" The nurse said to me, "Ma'am, are you okay? Would you like to sit down?" I was still feeling weak and dizzy, but could make out more screaming. Still, N took me to a waiting stall to get changed for the x-ray. They gave me some water with sugar, and I started feeling better. Got the test done, and when I got out, the FG told me that a security guy had to take her away because she was threatening to come back at me for destroying her property. And then she was cursing at staff members because she deserved to get the x-rays for free now. In the end, I called my best friend to give me a ride back home, and after a nap, I finally started feeling better. All I can say about this is, don't shake nauseous people unless you want to get vomit on yourself. Ain't that the best advice anyone can possibly get? And with that one finished, we are out of time, ladies and gentlemen. As usual, thank you so much for tuning into Life Stories. You know how this works. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe because we got more content constantly coming your way, and I hope to see you guys soon.